Hey guys, Van here. Today I want to read to you 15 quotes by some of the greatest thinkers of the last 150 years. And before I begin, I just want to dedicate this to Mom and Dad. Thank you for everything. Number 1 and 2 are by Leo Tolstoy, a Russian novelist whose masterpieces include Anna Karenina and War and Peace. He was especially influential to the Romantic period through his values and belief in moral truths. And he once wrote, "Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing themselves." And the second quote from him is, "Love is life. Everything that I understand only because I love. Everything is and everything exists only because I love. Everything is united by it alone. Love is God, and to die means that I, a particle of love, shall return to the general and eternal source." Number 3 and 4 are by Friedrich Nietzsche, a German philosopher, composer, and poet. His work had profound influence on Western philosophy and modern intellectual history. He produced great books such as Beyond Good and Evil and The Will to Power, and he once wrote, "And to those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." And also, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster, because if you gaze long enough into the abyss will gaze back into you." Number 5 and 6 are by Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn, a Russian novelist and historian, who wrote the Gulag Archipelago, which documented his life in prison for speaking out against the Soviet Union. And while being transported between the forced work camps, he came up with the following lines. "Only own what you can carry with you. No language, no countries, no people. Let your memories be your travel bag." Also while imprisoned, he went over his entire life with a fine-tooth comb, down to every single decision that he made that led him to such a fate, and came to the conclusion that the entire country, including himself, all went along with the lie. And he sums it up in the next few lines. "If only it were all so simple. If only there were insidious people out there committing evil deeds, and it were necessary to separate them and destroy them. However, the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being, and who is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart?" Solzhenitsyn was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1970. Number 7 and 8 are by Jordan Peterson, a Canadian clinical psychologist and professor of psychology at Harvard University and the University of Toronto. He has a best-selling book called 12 Rules for Life, and in it he wrote, "The past is not necessarily what it was, even though it has already been." And also, "I don't want the best for you. I want the best for what wants the best for you, because you don't know what you want. I am not on the side of you that's aiming towards your defeat. I am on the side that's struggling towards the light, and that's the definition of love." Number 9 is by John Lennon, an English singer, songwriter, peace activist, and one of the founding members of the Beatles. And he once said, "When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. And you know what I told them? That they didn't understand life." Number 10 is by Emil Cioran, a Romanian philosopher whose work has been noted for its philosophical pessimism and frequently engages in issues of suffering and nihilism. And he wrote, "If true confessions are written with tears, then my tears would drown the world, as the fire in my soul would reduce it to ashes." Number 11 is by Mark Twain, a writer whose stories and novels are famous for their humor, vivid details, and memorable characters. His best-known works are The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, both classics in American literature. And he wrote, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover." Number 12 is by Albert Finney, an English theater actor who was especially successful by plays by William Shakespeare. And he said, "There's a time when a man needs to fight, and a time when he needs to accept that his destiny is lost, that the ship has sailed, and only a fool would continue. The truth is, I've always been a fool." Number 13 is by Anne Frank, the most well-known victim of the Holocaust. She gained public notoriety with the publication of A Diary of a Young Girl, in which she documented her life in hiding from 1942 to 1944. And this quote is often attributed to her. "Oh, how wonderful it is that one need not wait a single moment before starting to improve the world." And number 14 and 15 are by T.S. Eliot, a British writer, literary, and social critic, and one of the 20th century's major poets. And he wrote, "What might has been and what has been point to one end, which is always present. Footsteps echo in the memory down the passage which we did not take, towards the door we never opened, into the rose garden." And finally, the last quote is, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive at where we started, and know the place for the very first time."